Good morning. Okay, it is, if you this live, it is Sunday. Not Sunday, it's just Sunday. But here we are. It is the 6th. I have to look at the date then. I wasn't quite sure what it was. The 6th of September already. And there's people around that are already saying it's not long till Christmas. So, time goes very quickly. So we might as well get on with it because we haven't got long this morning. I thought, I think it's been a bit rainy outside here today. So we're going to go outside and enjoy it because there's no such thing as bad weather. Let's lie on our backs. Okay, so we got here in the end. I was playing around with the live stuff this morning. I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work because it's the first time I've done this on YouTube. We'll see how it goes. If we do it again next week, or if I just don't, if we just record it and then put something out, doesn't matter, does it? Okay, so let's just start by lying on the floor with your knees bent, so your knees are facing the ceiling, pointing upwards, and your feet are standing as if you were standing on the floor. Your feet are just noticing the floor. And if you use your feet, just push your feet down into the floor, your back, your lumbar spine will gently start to drop down into the mat. You notice that for a moment. And then let that pressure go and let the lumbar spine gently arch so you feel as if you're creating more space between the pubic bone and your rib cage. Creating more space. And then you push your feet back into the floor as your lumbar spine drops down. And then you release that pressure and the pelvis tilts away from you. We create more space here in the front of the body. Push your feet back into the floor and you'll notice that your head will start to move as well. As you repeat that pattern, pressing and releasing your feet, your pelvis moving and your head and your neck will cooperate because they're just talking to each other. The lower part of the spine talking to the upper part of the spine. So if you can't notice that, as you press your feet into the floor and your lumbar spine flattens, allow your chin to lift so you look behind you. You create more space between your chin and your chest. And as you release the pressure in your feet, your lumbar spine gently arches, your chin gets closer towards your chest. So push your feet back into the floor, the lumbar spine flattens, you lift your chin. And as the chin drops, you release the pressure in your feet and your lumbar spine arches. Then you get into this rhythm. And you could probably make it a little bit faster. A little bit faster. Let the arms relax, let your jaw relax, let your breath soften. And then you find, as you're rocking and rolling on the back of the head, you're rolling on the back of the pelvis, the sacrum, you feel the sacrum rolling. You can find that the body just ends up being in a naturally positioned neutral when you stop with your feet and you just rest there. You're in a neutral position, halfway, the pelvis and the head. Okay, so you're going to pick up one foot and then pick up the other foot. Put one foot down, put one foot down. Pick up one foot, pick up the other foot, put one foot down, put one foot down. So as you carry on that movement, be aware that your pelvis stays the same. Yes, so you're not flattening the back. The upper spine doesn't overly arch, so you're not creating more space. Just being aware of the space when you're in that halfway position between the ribs and the pelvis. That doesn't increase, it stays the same. You can always put your thumb on your ribs and your fingers on the top of your pelvis. If you feel that, how does that feel? Can you keep it in the same position? You're just going to lift one leg and just hold it here. So your knee is above your hip bone. You've got a lovely space behind the knee here. Your foot's relaxed, your toes are relaxed. Just noticing that space between the ribs and the pelvis. Just noticing without your head changing position, so your gaze is towards the ceiling or towards your knee. So you're not looking behind you. So your neck, the 7 bones in your neck, the cervical spine can stay long. Bring that foot down and then change sides. Pick up the outer leg, so the knees above your hip. Got a lovely space behind the knee. And allow the femur, that longest bone in the body, to feel like it's just sinking down into the softness of your pelvis. As if your pelvis is filled up with lovely big plumped up cushions and the femur is just sinking down into them. And you still have this lovely distance between the ribs and the pelvis. The back isn't completely arched like it was earlier, and it's not completely flat back, so you're in that Goldilocks position, you're in that halfway lovely midpoint. Now, with this knee lifted, you're going to start to draw a circle, as if you had a clock face on the ceiling, and your knee would be going all the way around from 12 to 3 to 6 to 9 and back to 12. It goes around that clock face. And then you go back the other direction. You unwind the clock face, turning back time. There you go. And then you bring that one foot down, and then you change legs. Pick up the other foot, imagine that clock face, and around you go. There might be parts of that clock that feels a bit, you can't quite get there. Maybe it feels a bit tight, or it just feels like it takes effort to get there. So let's unwind it and see how that feels. And see if you use less effort to actually move the leg. Whereas you feel you need the effort, where can you have less of it, less effort? And then the foot comes down, pressing both feet back into the floor, having your knees away from each other. So there's a gap between the knees and a gap between the feet. Press the feet back into the mat so the back goes down to the floor again, and you start to lift up the pelvis, and then you put the pelvis down and you let it go, relax your toes. You press your feet back down into the floor, you let the back drop down, you lift the back of your pelvis, you might feel the lower ribs coming off the mat a little bit, and then you come back down. So keeping it easy and slow, so you feel the movement. So it's not like, oh, let's get up there, and oh, let's get down again. It's not like, I must do this, I must get this, I must get that result. It's more of a noticing, being aware of how the position and how the the attention to your feet and the pressure in your feet and your contact, what I'm looking for, the contact of your feet. That's the word I'm looking for, the contact of your feet into the mat, down into the floor, using the floor to help you find that connection from the right and the left side to move the pelvis. To move the bones of the pelvis using the bones of your feet. And if you feel you can come up a little bit higher, you can start to feel that you can peel the ribs up a little bit more off the floor until you feel that you're landing just below the shoulder blades, just below the shoulder blades, and then you're coming back down. So have an awareness of your breath, that you're breathing at the same time, and be aware if you tend to hold your breath, or if you tend to tense up your jaw, or if you tend to tighten up your shoulders. Can you let that go? Can you use less of that effort? Can you make it feel like it's quite an easy flowing move? Easy and flowing, easy and flowing. Toes stay soft. Fingers are soft. Okay, so if you come back to resting here for a moment, take the feet wider than the mat. Let your, where's it, my right knee, dropping it into the gap, coming back and then changing sides, and start to feel that the back of the pelvis is like a ball and it's rolling. And it's rolling. So when your right knee drops in, your pelvis rolls onto the left side of the ball, and when your left knee drops in, your pelvis just rolls over onto the right side of the ball, and you just start to feel that rolling of the back of the pelvis as the knee drops. Notice what your feet are doing. You're rolling onto the inside edge of the foot. Notice that. With your foot, what's happening? How does the foot position affect your knee, your femur, and your hip? It's quite a nice movement for the back of the pelvis to free out. Lovely, 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 lovely movement. I love this one. It's just so simple. It's really nice to get the hips moving and to find that internal rotation, which we don't really do that much from day to day, that internal rotation of the femur. It's very important, the muscles that attach it all the way up into the pelvis. Okay, so bring your feet back in and roll yourself over onto your side. Rest your head. You can either rest it on your arm, or if you've got a cushion or some blankets. Blankets galore. I don't want that one. It's too big. Just to rest your head. If it's too much to have your arm, sometimes it's quite comfortable for the shoulder to be up here. If you've got a painful shoulder, you might just want to rest your head in blankets or a cushion. Be cozy, be cozy. Be cozy when you're doing your training. If you can't feel cozy, then you're just going to feel like you don't want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, you won't get on the mat. And then your body will just feel like it's not getting any movement. So you want to enjoy it. Otherwise, why would you bother? Really? Let's lift and lower that top leg. So just feel the weight of that leg. It's heavy, isn't it? Yeah, lots of bones and muscles in that leg. So put your top hand on the pelvis. Find where your hip bone is. It's your hip bone is in the middle. Runs a line from there down to through the middle of your leg. So if you found the middle of your knee and drew a line up to the middle of your thigh, you come up and you find the top front of your pelvis, your hip bone. Yes. Okay. So put your hand there, and you can find where the hip bone comes around, becomes the crest. You've got iliums. These are iliums, the side of your pelvis, the iliac crest. Put your hand there and just gently press it away from you. And can you notice what happens on the other side? As you do that, if you press that away, you can see from the movement in my t-shirt, the creases here, how that changes what's happening in my ribs. I'm not sinking into the floor here, I'm just lifting it slightly and pressing away. So as you lift and lower your top leg, keep that top hip pressing away so you have space here between your ribs and your hips. So you're not compressing the hip in order to try and lift your leg. You're not creating tightness here or feeling that you need to lift it from the inside of the pelvis, coming from out here. The stability of the spine is coming from the abdominals and the back muscles, creating that length in the spine. And that length in the spine, keeping that length in the spine as you lift and lower your leg. Okay, so then we're going to bend that top knee, put the knees together and lift and lower your top foot. Just rolling the knee inwards and the femur rolls inwards. Lovely, lovely. You're still going to get some movement in the top of the pelvis. It will start to roll with you. It's not excessive, but you're noticing more what's happening here on the inside of that femur. And then we're going to keep the feet together and lift and lower the knee. And as you lift and lower the knee, check that hip bone is facing forward and that it's not facing the ceiling. Oh yes. Just lifting and lowering. And put your hands in front and use it to push yourself up. Oh, hi. Push yourself up. Sort your hair out. Okay, so bring yourself around. Before we do the other side, right over there so I can remember. Sometimes I forget to do the other side. Put your hands under your knees and pull yourself up. So feet are either down on the floor or on your heels like that. So if you pull yourself up, you've got tall spine. Tall spine. So you're sitting, being aware of your tailbone. Are you sitting on your tailbone? If you can feel your tailbone, start to sit so you're off your tailbone and then go back onto your tailbone and then come back off your tailbone. So if I go to the side, you can see me better. So onto your tailbone and off your tailbone. And you might feel, if you really are aware of what's going on in the base of your pelvis, you'll be able to feel the sit bones going boom, 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 as you roll on them and off them. So the pelvis rolls away from the hips, it tucks under, it rolls away. So you create more space between the hip bones and the femurs, and then you come back together like a little pulley system. It's coming away and pulling back up. So your knees stay away from each other. So your legs have to be, you're aware of your legs, the inside and the outside of the thighs, holding that femur in the position inside of your pelvis. So if you use your hands here, you straighten the arms as you go down, and you pull to bring yourself back up. And start to feel that you don't start from the head and you don't start from your shoulders. It starts from that tailbone. So you're off your tailbone, roll onto your tailbone. And if you were really starting to draw a line on the floor, your tailbone will come down. And then your sacrum, just above your tailbone, will come down until you feel you're going to land on the back of the sacrum, and then you come back up. There you go. So you can use your hands. And just notice where your eyes are looking. So when you're up here off your tailbone, you're looking at the horizon. And then as you start to come back, the horizon slowly, we're looking at the sun on the horizon. So if you're looking at the sun starting to sink down below the horizon, below the horizon, below the horizon, and then it comes back up again. The sun goes back up again. So you're watching the sun set below the horizon, and then the sun rises above the horizon. So your neck can stay in a lovely long position so you don't overwork the head. Yes. Okay, enough. Let's go on to the other side. Right. Come on, blankets. I love the blankets. Love them. Okay, so where did we start? We started here, didn't we? When you forget. So hand on your hip. Feel that hip going on, because one hip's always different to the other. Some of us have got, we feel that maybe your one leg is shorter than the other. It's just a muscular thing usually. Sometimes if you're not born with it, it could just be a muscular thing, hiking that hip up. Sometimes how we sit, cross-legged, so this habitual sitting position. So keeping that length here and space in the side of the body as you lift and lower that top leg. Your bottom leg can be straight or it can be bent. See how you feel. And if you look down, you should be able to see your foot. If you can't bring your leg forward, that's fine. You can bring your leg forward. Let your shoulders soften and your jaw. Check you're not holding your breath. And just see your lovely feet. And then you're going to bend your knee. So the knees are together and your feet are together. Lovely. So let your knees stay together as you lift your top foot and bring it down. It's as if the sole of the foot just wants to look at the ceiling, and then it's changed its mind and it's come back. You can feel your femur. What's it doing? Rolling inside and rolling back again. Using less effort. Make it easy, effortless. Notice where the effort is. Can you let go of that? And some of us don't realise where the effort is. It's just so habitual. It could be here, it could be here, it could be holding the breath in your diaphragm, it could be tightening up here, it could be in your hands, it could be in your eyes, it could be in your toes. So if we keep the top foot down now and lift and lower the knee, the same thing, less effort. Top hip is facing forward. So for this move, it's not rolling back because we're just going to focus on the outside of the leg, working on those little glute medius, glute minimus, help stabilize the pelvis. So we're not overly rocking back to use the spine. Okay, so come and lie back on your spine. Lovely. And just notice your spine as you rest here with your knees facing the ceiling, your feet in standing. Just notice your spine as you rest here. Can you notice your tailbone? Can you notice your sacrum? 5 fused bones of your sacrum resting there. Can you notice your lumbar spine, 5 bones, the length of your lumbar spine for this? Can you notice the length of your thoracic spine from where your lumbar spine ends and your ribs begin? The 12 bones. All your ribs are attached to your thoracic spine. It comes all the way up to the base of your neck, where your 7 bones of your neck, your cervical spine. The very top of your cervical spine, where your head sits, balances on top You notice that. Notice that. Lovely. Just notice that for a moment, and then take your hands up to the ceiling and put your hands together. Trying to keep the arms straight, let the arms just go from side to side. Let the head follow. It's like a pendulum on a clock. Notice you're shifting from one shoulder to the other. Letting that little bit of rotation happen in the center of the body as you go from one shoulder to the other. You notice that you're on one rib cage, the other rib cage lifts off the floor. So if you're going to the left, your right rib cage will lift off the floor on the back of the ribs. And if you're going to the left side, the opposite happens. If you go to your left, your right rib cage comes off, and you go to your right, your left rib cage comes off. Pay attention, Miss Collie, pay attention. And then come back to the center and let the arms come back down. Bring the attention back to the legs. Just let the right leg slide away and come back in, and let the left leg slide away and come back in. So just one leg at a time, sliding away, coming back in, sliding away and coming back in. Not easy if you're on a carpet, really. Sometimes it's not easy on one of these mats either. It can get a bit sticky. So as you slide away, just notice what's happening in the pelvis. That side tends to drop down a little bit. So see if you can put your fingertips, find your hip bones again. Can you keep them level? As the leg slides away and comes back in, can you keep your pelvis feeling the same? The back of the pelvis feeling the same? Can you keep that arch in the back the same? We have that distance between the ribs and your hips, that pelvis feeling that it's not too arched and not too flat. It's in the middle, that neutral position, Goldilocks position. It's not arching. So it's not, if you arch your back and the leg length is away and you tend to arch the back, using quite a lot of effort in your back, tightening up and trying to get there. So you don't feel that you've got to get there. So stay in the center. Lengthen your leg away with ease and softness. It's not like you've got to reach the leg away. It doesn't quite get there. That's okay. You can build up to it. So if you start to overly arch the back, you'll be using the back muscles to try and move your leg. And more softness. So we're working the tinier muscles that are closer to the spine, closer to the bones, closer to the center of your pelvis. Everything's trying to stabilize to help the leg move. And then just come back to where we started, in this resting position. Bring your attention to the head. Notice the back of your head feeling heavy. And then just bring your attention to the nose. As the nose faces the ceiling, start to draw a line up and down with your nose. And notice the back of the head moving up and down. Are you in the center of your head, or are you leaning over to one side a little bit more? Probably leaning over to one side a little bit more if you're trying to watch the screen as well. So come back to the center and draw a circle with your nose. And then unwind it, go back the other way. Come back to center and then go from side to side, from right to left, from left to right, drawing that line. Notice what happens in the back of your head. So when the nose goes to the right, notice where the back of the head on the left side is. And when your nose goes to the left, notice the right side of the back of the head. It's looking in the opposite direction. Just noticing the back of the head looking in the opposite direction to your nose. And then come back to the center. Put your hands on your gorgeous rib cage. Just find where your ribs end. Where do your ribs end? And find them, find those ribs, and find where they meet. The last ribs, where they meet. At the base of your chest bone, your sternum. Look how long your sternum is. It's enormous. all that way from the base there, your collarbone, going down, 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 down. Notice where the ribs meet there, and let your fingertips just rest underneath your sternum. They're on the squishy bit. Yes, not on the bone. They're on the squishy bit. So when you squish your abdominals, your hands are just there. You can see what I'm doing. They're just there, squishy bit. Your ribs start to fan out from side to side. So let your fingertips just rest there. You've got your right hand on the right side of your ribs, left hand on the left side. Your index fingers are probably just below your chest bone. And breathe into your fingers. So when you breathe in, you push the fingers, or the breath lifts the fingers. And as you breathe out, the fingertips press just gently down, as if they're trying to touch the spine. And they're not, but that feeling that's where they're going. Breathing in, pushing into the fingers, breathing out, the fingertips go down with the breath. So it's like your fingertips are just riding on that movement with the breath. Just riding, following that movement. As if they're just along for the ride. What you're doing is just gently massaging any tension or tightness here with the breath, using your fingers, the weight of your fingers. So just notice that you're not overworking your jaw or your shoulders. It's softness around the face, softness around the upper body. And then take your hands down to find the lower part of your belly, so below your navel, and breathe into your hands. So you feel the rise and fall of the belly with your breath. As if there's a balloon inside your belly and you're expanding that balloon as you breathe. As you expand that balloon as you breathe, the back of the balloon as well. So when you breathe in, the back of the balloon opens up to the floor. It expands out into the floor. And then roll yourself over onto your side. Rest your head for a moment. Notice the floor as you rest there, supporting your spine, supporting your bones. And allow your mind for a moment to notice your heartbeat. So can you allow your mind to be still enough from all the chaos that's happening around you at the moment to notice what's happening on the inside, noticing your heartbeat. And then use your hands when you're ready, or you can stay there because I'm going to get up and press the stop button and leave this on the site for you to watch later. Practice whenever you feel you want to. I'm going to push myself up to come to a little close of the session. So next week we'll be here doing more work on we're going to lie on our fronts next week and work on the back of the body, the muscles down the spine and your shoulders, between your shoulder blades. Okay, thank you for joining me on this amazing, gorgeously rainy Sunday morning. Time for a cup of tea and a little bit of breakfast.